This is just a quick video. I hope everybody enjoys this. It's long and it doesn't have very technical details. If you're very detail oriented, you won't not enjoy this video. So jump onto another video. But if you just love Roxors, stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. Pretty cold today, windy. Was snowing quite a bit yesterday. You can see the Roxor is all covered up. Not too much snow, but a lot of drifts, as you can see. And it's quite cold actually, and it's made worse by the wind chill. So let's check some temperatures here real quick. I understand this is not very accurate. 27 degrees Fahrenheit. And with the wind chill it feels much colder than that. Grab the key here, open up the Roxor, see if we can get it started. Oh, don't tell me I had it open all this while. There, that should do the trick. Look at that, a little bit of snow, and also over there. Otherwise everything looks good. Jumping. Shut the door for a little bit. Ooh, that's cold. Get a key in and let that warm up. While it's doing that, we can check the temperature here on the dash. It's just at the freezing. Let's go to Fahrenheit. Yep, that took a while to heat up. Okay, let's crank it. Nice. It started right up, but it's running a little rough. We're gonna let it warm up, and I'll turn on the heat. Put it on full blast to warm up the cab. As you can see, we have a full tank of gas. We'll let it idle for about maybe 20 minutes or so. So you can see the exhaust coming out, sputtering out. Give you the heads up, I do not have a cat delete kit, and I also do not have a EGR delete kit, so I'm fully stuck as concerns my exhaust. So here we are on the road. We did a first run going out. On the right you have the church, one of the main buildings here in my town. We are in four-wheel drive high, and I believe the front hub lockers are locked, so we have four-wheel traction. Previously I tried to drive the Roxor with the front locking hubs open and in two-wheel drive, and what I realized happened was on icy roads like right now. What you're seeing, we are in town, so you can see some of the sand on the side I'm driving on, but beneath that you can see a lot of ice. So what I realized was the tail of the Roxor tried to run away from me. Roxor is different from the Suzuki Jimny, because the Suzuki Jimny and the older CJs, they had a shorter wheelbase. This Roxor has a longer wheelbase. And just for the heads up, guys, sorry, this is a handheld camera, and what you are watching at right now is actually sped up. That's not the regular speed. It's sped up about 1 3/4, not twice, about 1 3/4. So it just looks like it's going really fast. So much stuff is happening, but I just wanted to share with you guys the countryside, the possibilities I have available to me. Because you look at this right now, on the right you can see, on the left you can see a lake, a slough some people will call it, because depends on how deep it is. You, at times you can't really have fish in there. So some will call it a slough. I wouldn't call it a lake, but it's a big pond, and you could definitely actually grow some fish in there and have some fishing happening. So this is just some of the kind of countryside we encounter out here. You can see I have some of the mud on my side window. That's from when stuff wasn't frozen. Right now everything is frozen, so there's no chance of that coming off the glass. And also take a very close look at the steering wheel. See how stable it is. Just to remind you, this is sped up about 1.75, not 2 times the normal speed, about 1.75 to 1.5. I invite everybody to take a good look at the steering wheel. Most people worry about the death wobble. Death wobble is a huge thing for Jeep guys. Well, my Roxor is absolutely stuck. Only thing I did was I realized the track was very narrow, so I put on some 2.5-inch spacers, and that absolutely stabilized my truck, my Roxor, and it gave it a reasonable stance. So as you know, most people say the Roxor looks very tiny, it looks little, yet they forget that the Roxor is actually bigger and actually sits taller than some of the TJs and some of the CJs. But the reason why the Roxor looks so goofy is because, and this is like 99.99% why the Roxor looks so goofy. It has a roll cage built for 2020 Americans and put on a roll cage on a top that was built for 1950 Americans. So it's like this kid with a big head and a little frame. It just looks out of proportion. My aircraft, I have 2 aircraft, and to get into them it's just so hard. Until the late 90s and early 2000s, when you had this innovative airmen who drafted new airframes where you could actually have a modern American getting into an aircraft without crouching and screaming and giving out a few swear words. So that's just par for the course. What happened was, your average American in 1950 was a smaller guy. Your average American lady in 1950 was a smaller lady. Right now, due to the advances in science and medicine, the average American, they are much bigger and taller, larger hands. They occupy more space. So my aircraft, which was designed in 1960s 50s, and that was supposed to be like top of the line, the Grumman AA1, it is just too small for the normal average American today. You have to be like a student or somebody on a very skimpy diet to be able to fit into that aircraft. And if you have two guys in there, then they have to absolutely not even take full fuel, and there should be no discussion about luggage. So this shot shows you a very beautiful sunset, as you can see. Of course, I want to highlight one thing because many people worry about this, especially guys coming from the Jeep CJ series or TJ. How stable is the ride? Well, take a look at my steering wheel, and again, I have to remind you, this is sped up footage. I'm still heading into town, so I wanted to capture the sun setting, and then I also wanted to capture the road conditions. You have ice beneath the snow that you see on the road right now, and the only modification I did was just add 2.5-inch spacers, and then I changed my tire. But the KOs that come with the Roxor actually have a wider thread pattern than the tires I have on right now. So I'll be turning left here. I believe there was a truck behind me following very, very closely. So I will turn, then I believe, if I remember rightly, I pull to the right to let him go by. And once he gets by, then we can continue with our video. Again, this is a long video. It just shows what the Roxor is capable of. It shows my neck of the woods. If you get bored, then certainly this video wasn't for you, so you can click off and go to another video on the Mahindra Roxor. But basically, this is just for folks who are a bit laid back and want to see what using your Roxor looks like. I'm heading downtown into Stanley, and again, guys, this is a handheld camera sped up. On the left is the Amtrak station. On my left, again, you have the post office. You have businesses both sides of the street. On the right, you have the cinema. They have maybe about 3 screens. It's all volunteer in my neck of the woods. It's an all volunteer cinema. Nobody gets paid, nobody makes money. On the right, we have a premier dealership, Prairie Ford. They sell some of the best Ford vehicles at a discount. If you ever happen to be in the Bakken oil field, check out Prairie Ford in Stanley, North Dakota. So this is downtown Stanley, North Dakota. December 2019, getting ready for Christmas festivities. And again, the camera is sped up, it's handheld, kind of shaky, choppy. If you are from this town, you want to take a look, yep, absolutely, go ahead. But if you coming for Roxor footage, take a look. This is what the Roxor can do. But you have a word to share, you want to criticize, absolutely, leave a comment below. So we're heading now to the west towards Washington State, Seattle, whatever you call it, and we're gonna turn left right there. So I give the signal, My blinkers are not working yet. I just haven't had time to have everything hooked up. And again, we hit another icy patch. To the left, as we're going down this road, we have where the dogs can play. To the left again, we have the cemetery. Like right now, on the left is the cemetery in Stanley, North Dakota. And here we have the car wash. It might be way below freezing, but they are still open. On the right, we have Target logistics housing. On the left, you just saw a UTV. There's a ton of UTVs out here in Stanley and the surrounding farms and areas. But most of those guys tend to come out with their UTVs when it actually gets cold and the weather is shitty. So on most of my videos, you might not see them, but they are actually a species that exists in town, and they come out when the weather gets shitty. We got a green light. We're crossing. That's Highway 2, and that we just crossed, and it goes all the way to Montana if you took the ride. We're turning right here. We have a gas station. We have a Cash-Wise. We have an O'Reilly, and then we have a hotel also. There's also plans for an expansion, maybe more shopping centers. And this is just a few pictures from the Cash-Wise while I went in to shop for something to eat. Remember, don't do anything stupid. And then I jump right in. So it's actually much darker than what you see, guys, right now. I believe this camera just makes things look brighter. It makes it look like noon on a winter day, but it was actually very dark. With my naked human eyes, I could barely see. It was really bad weather. As you can see, the power steering of the Roxor works very well. I went around, and if you look to the left very carefully, you will see an ATV. And just like I said, they all tend to come out when the weather is very bad. Today was no exception. It was very bad weather. And of course, like I said, it was much darker than what this camera actually shows. It's a pretty good camera, so it brightens up everything. And I'll try to pull into the gas station just so you guys can see the UTV that was following me behind. Those guys all come out when it gets nasty like this. There you go. That's a UTV right there, and there's tons of them around here. So I just took the opportunity with the flag flying so hard and stiff to take a few pictures of the Roxor with the American flag. Holiday is a very popular stop for most guys traveling on US Highway 2 from Minnesota all the way to Washington State, and for some of them transitioning on the ferry all the way to Alaska. So more pictures of the Roxor, American flag, pay tribute. That's where the whole story begins, with the GP being built, Ford, and then all the other companies that came afterwards building the same thing. and that's the car wash, the cemetery. Now we're going back in the reverse direction. Sorry, I jumped from my previous thoughts, but just giving you some commentary so that you guys get situated. This is Stanley, North Dakota. On the right is the cemetery, and then there's also a dog park somewhere around there. So giving the hand signal right here and then moving on. On the right is still the cemetery. On the left is the UPS, where the UPS guys park their trucks, swap out. Now we're heading into downtown. On the right you have the laundromat. If you have to clean your clothes or whatever, you just come on this street on the right, then you'll be able to do that. Another fact I have to give you guys, this was already dark. Like, it was dark. So this is the main park in Stanley. In summertime, on the right you would have the pool. The town is all decorated now for Christmas. This is sped up 1.5 times the regular speed, just to make sure I could cram everything into this video. We're getting into town. You could see Christmas atmosphere. We have all the red socks for Santa, and then you have snow on the ground. It's gonna be a white Christmas for sure. Prairie Ford, we passed it just a few moments ago. It's on the left. On the right you have the hardware shop, banks, businesses, the cinema on the left, bars, another bar on the right, left, and then on the right now you can see the Amtrak station in Stanley, North Dakota. Go underneath the bridge. On the left you have the courthouse and most government businesses. On the right you have the Prairie Golf Club, and we continue on our lonely icy journey. Take a look at the steering wheel. It's just sitting rock solid, and that's how you steer the Mahindra Roxor. Mine, I pulled the connector to the speed sensor, so I'm just going about 25 miles an hour right now, and I'm gonna turn right, start heading out of Stanley. Alright guys, so those are abandoned buildings waiting for someone to come purchase them. They were abandoned 4 years ago. Right now people are looking for rental options. You think you have a good real estate plan? Come to Stanley, North Dakota. You have buildings that are 95% completed, just waiting for a buyer. So we're taking the road out of town. As you can see, we still have lots of ice on the road, lots of snow. Underneath the snow you have ice, so you gotta be very careful. There's the blacktop, but it doesn't guarantee you that you have the necessary friction to control your vehicle. Again guys, please bear with me. This is actually sped up. About some of the footages 1.5, some of them 1.25. So it looks really choppy. It looks really choppy, and maybe hard to watch for some of you guys. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you can slow it down a little bit, and you can actually then enjoy the scenery. Also the engine, I don't know how it sounds for you guys. It might sound weird, but I can assure you one thing. I took it very lightly on this drive, but whenever I stepped on the gas, first thing I heard was the turbo is pulled up really good. Oh, that was music to my ears. And the next thing I saw was the reaction of the vehicle, and I had to speak to the Mahindra Roxor. So give you the heads up on my Roxor. I have three things that fundamentally modify the ride or the driving qualities of the Roxor. The first thing I did was I got a race dynamics shift on the fly variable tune. I reviewed that component in one of my videos. I still have one for sale. I might put it up very soon here. But what that allows me to do is to change the level of performance I require of my Roxor. Bear in mind, I have an early 2018 Roxor, so if I disconnect the speed sensor, then I can get, it doesn't know how fast I'm going. And guys, this is what they call a stud farm. So this guy has like premium cattle, and if you have a cow, you want to reproduce the cow, you bring it to the stud farm, and then that he makes it happen. And this guy has been in business for a very, very long time. He's very reputable. People come all the way from Florida to see this guy at the stud farm, and he's very friendly. Whenever I go by, if he's around, he stops and he waves. So right now I added a detour, and I'm actually heading to the lake. You guys might have seen the lake previously, and there is the lake. It's all frozen over. And then what happens usually is you have a thin sheet of ice, and then the snow falls, and then the snow covers the sheet of ice, and then now it just looks like a blank white wilderness, which is all white. I do not have for the moment like a light bar or any additional lighting. I am just using my front headlight, so that's how much light they can throw. Sorry again about the jerkiness, because I don't have a stabilizer. So I was trying to find out exactly where the snow ended, where the ice began, how thick the ice was. Was the ice able to support the weight of the Mahindra Roxor? So I stepped out, checked everything out, then I jumped back in the Roxor, and here's my drive-through. I'm going through some snowbanks upon ice, and maybe the ice upon water and then upon ground. Hard to tell what the dynamic was around there, but as somebody who is exploring, you have to make the call, because if I got stuck out there, as you guys can see, there's nobody around. None, nada, zilch. You call somebody, it takes about 40 minutes to get there, and in those 40 minutes to an hour, 2 hours, if your vehicle is not running, you are in trouble. So guys, there's the Roxor by the lake, all frozen. Now you might have seen some of my videos with this lake looking so beautiful, and these are the still shots. So looks really beautiful. And these shots were done at the same time as the movie shot that you guys saw. Another still shot. I really enjoyed this. They capture the Roxor in its prime element. So after that, I jump back into the Roxor. I'm still around the lake right here, and I'm just going between high beam and low beam. I believe you can see the high beam, low beam. I was just playing with that. That's low beam. And I'm leaving the lake right now. Again, as I said earlier, I know there's gonna be quite a few people who will be disappointed by this video. They want to see the Roxor doing like crazy stuff, pulling bumpers off other cars, climbing on other cars, doing crazy stuff. But I'm sorry, guys. Basically, my Roxor is my go-to vehicle in case shit happens. I jump in my Roxor. I know I'm going for the next so many miles, and this vehicle will take me there. You can see how the roads look so desolate. There's nobody there. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking any other vehicle on this road except for the Roxor. And again, guys, remember the video has been sped up, so it looks quite choppy and everything. If I didn't do that, you guys will be bored to hell. So right here, I'm getting closer to home. And thanks for watching. See you guys on the next video.